So in this video, I want to talk about anxiety-induced nausea, why nausea actually occurs with people who are struggling with anxiety, why it can be so debilitating, and more importantly, how can you overcome this so you can go back to living freely and not really being nauseous all the time. This was a symptom that really threw me off when I was struggling with anxiety, and I ended up losing a ton of weight. I didn't feel like eating. I was always afraid of throwing up, and by the end, when I fully overcame it, never had this issue. So I really want to make a video for those that are also struggling with the same thing so that you can just go back to living. So this is gonna be a really good video. I'm really excited to show you. Let's get started. So first and foremost, it's obviously important to get everything ruled out by your doctor, right? You don't want to use these YouTube videos as a way to self-diagnose. That's a terrible idea. I don't recommend it. Definitely make sure you got everything ruled out. Now the good news is that chances are, by the time you found this video, you've probably already gotten everything ruled out. So I'm hoping that's the case for you. If not, definitely go to your doctor and get everything ruled out. So let's talk about this nausea that you feel. Oftentimes when people are experiencing this nausea, it can happen all the time. It can happen almost 24/7. And when you're feeling this nauseous, you don't feel like eating. You really don't. You're afraid. It's like, even if I eat a little bit, I'm gonna throw up, or I'm just gonna feel really sick and I just don't even wanna look at food. Now, it's really easy to think that there's something physiologically wrong, which is why we say make sure to get everything ruled out by your doctor. But chances are is that it's actually caused by anxiety. And what I want to talk about is, how does anxiety create these symptoms of nausea, this really physical symptom where it's really easy to think there's something physically wrong with you? How can anxiety do that? Well, in order for me to explain that to you, I really need to tell you about the mechanics of anxiety. So when you're struggling with anxiety, what happens is that something happens in your body. Your body goes into what we call this fight or flight response. This is an innate response that everybody has. It's designed to protect us. And so what happens is that when we're in this fight or flight response, our body does some changes physiologically. Physiologically, it changes. One of the things it actually ends up doing is that it actually moves a lot of the blood flow. It goes to different muscle groups in the body, it goes to your brain, it goes to other areas. Now, typically when you're not in this fight or flight response, you're in this other response that we call rest and digest. It's part of the sympathetic nervous system. I don't want to get too much in depth into the science behind it. But what happens is that typically the blood flow is normally in your gut, in your stomach, into vital organs. It's still there even with the fight or flight response, but a lot of the blood is really in the gut. So what happens is that when there's no threat, you're eating normal, your body's digesting food all the time. But when you're in this fight or flight response, what happens is the blood flow ends up shifting, and it ends up shifting from your upper quadrant of from your digestive tract, and it goes to other muscle groups. Now what happens is that this feeling actually creates the nausea. And what happens is that this nausea is almost all the time. It's not just in moments of high anxiety, it's all the time. And the reason that happens is because this isn't anxiety in the sense that, oh, I'm nervous before talking in front of a camera or giving a presentation. This type of anxiety is about survival. So it's almost what we call state dependent, meaning you're gonna be in this state for a while. And there's a safety response, and that's more long lasting. It's not just when you're a little bit nervous. It's about survival. So because of that, you're in this state for a long time. Because you're in this state for a long time, a lot of the blood, like I say, is going to different muscle groups, going to your brain, going to some vital organs to protect itself, but it ends up leaving the digestive tract. And what happens is that you experience what we call nausea. And when you experience this nausea, it's really easy to think, oh, well, what if I throw up in public? Or what if I do this? Or, I'm not really that hungry. Oh, I don't have the energy. Oh my God, what if there's something wrong with my stomach? What happens is that you have this fight or flight response, which is a safety response. It's designed to protect you, not hurt you. What happens is that you're feeling an offset of that, which is nausea. But what's happening is that nausea is scaring you, and you're actually adding fuel into the safety response, meaning you're responding in fear. You're trying to fix this. You're trying to analyze this. You're trying to get assurances. You're trying to do everything to fix this. And what that does is that actually adds more pressure to your nerves, and that creates more of the safety response. So In order to fix the nausea, actually, most people try to fix the nausea directly. You know, I remember when I was struggling, I would try to take chamomile tea. I was trying to like take peppermint, whatever I found on the internet to calm nausea. It never helped. Never helped, not even once. And what happened was I decided to actually start focusing on the anxiety. Once I focused on the anxiety, ironically, the nausea ended up going away. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, Shaan, how do I fix the anxiety? How would I fix this fight or flight response that's responding inappropriately in situations where there's no threat? If you really want to know, I'll put a link down below to a free report. Essentially, I've written out step by step how to overcome, how to get out of this once and for all so that you don't experience nausea, you don't experience any real physical symptom, any of these intrusive thoughts, any of these feelings of unreality or the emotions that come with it. You can essentially not experience any of these things. So the link is below. This is the exact same steps I have people in my program fully overcome. This is exactly the steps I did to fully overcome. There's no secret. I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm just trying to give this out because, well, I know I can't help everybody in the world, but more importantly, it was just something I wish I would have had during my recovery journey. When I was struggling, I felt like there was a lot of unnecessary suffering on my end just because I didn't have the answers. And if somebody would have just explained to me how anxiety worked, how the mechanics worked, why certain things happen, and how to come out of it, I think I would have saved a lot of time and a lot of unnecessary suffering. And that's exactly what I want from you. So this report is free. I hope you enjoyed. I've worked really hard on it. Now, the last thing I'm actually going to say is when you're struggling with nausea, it's kind of really easy to not want to eat. I remember I lost close to about 40 pounds, maybe 45 pounds, I would say. And so just because I just didn't feel like eating. Now, it's really important, like I say, once everything's ruled out by your doctor, once it's been considered anxiety, it's really important to eat even when you're not feeling hungry. It's really easy to think, well, Shaan, yeah, but if I eat, I'll throw up. Well, I normally respond by asking, well, have you actually thrown up before? Most of the time what we find is people actually don't even throw up. So this idea that this nausea will cause you to throw up is actually not true. In fact, your stomach is actually really, really, really strong. So that's not even gonna occur. So it's really important to keep eating even when you're anxious. As the anxiety goes away, believe it or not, your appetite comes back. The digestion ends up restarting. What happens is the blood flow ends up going back to the digestive tract as it comes off this fight or flight response, and you begin digesting food quite normally. So what I would say is focus on long-term freedom, focus on overcoming the anxiety, and if you overcome the anxiety, all these symptoms disappear. Now, if you're wondering, okay, Shaan, that's great, but I just haven't met anybody else that's struggling with this. I don't really know how to do this. I need more instructions. If you really want to know, I'll put a link down below to my private Facebook group. In this group, I'm putting exclusive content that I'm not actually posting on any other social media platform. This is a group where I actually have people where I've helped fully overcome, now helping other members in the group as well too. So they're really helping individuals, grabbing them by the hand and taking them step by step to recovery. Many of these people actually also struggled with nausea and they were able to overcome it. So why not you? So if you definitely want to be part of this group, hit the link down below. When you hit the link, it's going to ask you 3 questions. It's very important that you answer these 3 questions to your best of your ability. We want as many people in the group as possible because we want to help, but we also try to maintain the integrity of the group. We don't want to be another forum where there's toxic energy or where people are story topping each other or they're just trying to find coping mechanisms or quick fixes. We're really dedicated to helping people fully overcome, fully get out of this so they can go back to living. So if that's you, hit the link down below. I'll see you inside.